Hi, I'm a news person, and here's some news. The President of the United States' son, Donald Trump Jr., which makes the President Donald Trump, it's true, I looked it up, and his son tweeted emails between himself and a real character named Rob Goldstone. And the emails contain the sentence, "This is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aras and Emin." Now, the two Russian gentlemen mentioned are father and son, like the president and his son. And they're both wealthy real estate moguls who put their sons in charge of stuff. The Trumps and the Agalovs also have a relationship due to real estate deals in the Miss Universe pageant. And we'll hopefully get to them later. They're merely mentioned as being a part of the Russian government support for Mr. Trump, current president. The email sets up a meeting with a Russian lawyer to discuss incriminating information about Hillary Clinton, who is not the president. Donald Trump Jr. defended this email chain on Sean Hannity, world-famous tough interviewer of the president and his family, when he said, "Someone sends me an email, I can't help what somebody sends me." That's pretty flimsy. Do we have a clip?
I didn't know there was any credibility. I didn't know if there was anything behind it. I can't vouch for the information. Now, someone sent me an email. I can't help what someone sends me.
Ew. But I'm sure the interview went on, as Hannity points out, but also you responded to the email several times, planned and participated in a phone call via those emails, forwarded those emails to Jared Kushner and then Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, who I also hope we get to later, and participated in an in-person meeting under the pretense of getting damaging information from the Russian government, which explicitly supports the election of Donald Trump, president. Do we have a clip of that? Dang. Okay, then maybe we should just back up, because this has been an ongoing story, and there's a lot of hysteria surrounding it, as well as a lot of blind denial of the existence of anything here at all. And we try to not only talk about Donald Trump on this show, we want to be fair and balanced. But to be fair, he loves when people talk about him, and to be balanced, he's the president. So this week, it's all Russia, baby! But like I said, let's back up. This is a complex story and it's ongoing, and it's hard to see the whole puzzle because there are so many pieces, and some of it might be meaningless and some of it is probably meaningful. So you put everything in it and it's this soup of delicious spices and vegetables and rocks and twigs that nobody wants because it's a mixed metaphor of puzzles and soup? Like, what is that? But we're gonna try really hard to cram as much about this into the short amount of time that we have together. I love our time together. So for the third time, let's back up and look at a timeline. June 14th, 1946. Donald Trump is born. That is too early. Let's jump to the general time period of the 1970s to the 2010s, in which Donald Trump developed a long, well-documented history of being fined for crimes. Please say we have a Star Wars crawl for that. But those aren't explicitly Russia-related. They're just well-documented shady business practices and taking advantage of people and charities for personal gain. Let's get specific. Like Donald Trump Jr. in 2008 saying, quote, "Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. We see a lot of money pouring in from Russia," end of quote. But that's just one son in one speech. It's not like there are numerous reports indicating the Trump Organization received substantial financial help from Russia in the 90s and during the Great Recession because US banks refused to loan Trump money, except of course it's like that. Then there's this story from 2014 that describes Eric Trump, the other son, saying, quote, "Well, we don't rely on American banks. We have all the funding we need out of Russia," end of quote. There's the Reuters report that 63 Russian billionaires have invested nearly $100 million into several Florida Trump properties. There's also Trump's ongoing relationship with Felix Sater, a real estate developer and actual Russian mobster who literally lived in Trump Tower and worked with him on 4 different projects, a few of which went under. I wonder why. What's money laundering? I don't know. To be clear, though, none of this is incriminating outright. If you ask Trump's old campaign manager, Paul Manafort, about Trump's relationship with Russia, he'll say this.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
Hey, good try. Or what did Donald Trump and the White House continually have to say about it all? I have nothing to do with Russia. Trump has no business in Russia. But if he doesn't, then why does he? And if he does, why deny it? That is suspicious. His behavior in regards to Russia, if none of it is true, is suspicious. But suspicions don't mean anything. It's like that old phrase, if suspicions were verifiable, people would go on trial for them. So let's forget Russia for a second and travel to 2013 when the father and son mentioned in Don Jr.'s email convinced Don Sr. to bring Miss Universe to Moscow, Russia. Damn, that didn't take long. But here they are and Rob Goldstone with Trump. And again. And again. Okay, so when Goldstone in his email to the president's son says this, quote, is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aris and Emin, it's important to note that Aris and Emin definitely have a relationship with the president. Here he is tweeting at and about them, as well as the possibility of Trump Tower Moscow, as well as a recent report that in 2013 and 2014, the Trump Organization and Aris's company were definitely developing Trump Tower Moscow. Don Jr. was in charge. Ivanka scouted locations with Emin in Moscow in 2014, a couple of years before...
I have nothing to do with Russia.
I have nothing to do with Russia, folks, okay?
I have nothing to do with Russia.
Just don't lie about it and we'll be less suspicious of you. Anyway, the other person involved in this meeting with the president's son was Natalia Veselnitskaya, a Russian lawyer who represents a lot of Russian state-owned businesses. She's been a longtime advocate against the 2012 Magnitsky Act, which, damn, gotta go back to 2012. 2012, please! The Magnitsky Act was a reaction to a 2009 event with... All right, 2009. Okay, so in 2009, lawyer Sergei Magnitsky had accused Moscow law enforcement of stealing $230 million in tax and tax rebates from his client. He was beaten to death in jail, which is something Putin's government is super into, and I hope we have time to get into that. So in response to this, the US passed the Magnitsky Act, which imposed sanctions on the people involved. Putin hated this and banned adoptions by Americans. Putin hates a lot of stuff. When he was elected president, he shut down newspapers and put in place his own media and propaganda outlets. He has a history of threatening those who oppose him, and in some cases, killing them or jailing them. Sometimes both, like that case we just talked about. When journalists and activists started posting incriminating information on LiveJournal, Putin launched a campaign of bots and paid trolls to post negative comments and boost misinformation, which sounds familiar in some recent kind of way. And then he ended up buying LiveJournal because it was one of the places Russians were getting true information about him and his government. It's important to avoid unreasonable Russia hysteria, but the guy's a liar. In Trump's 2-hour closed-door meeting with him, Trump asked Putin if he meddled in our election, and Putin said no, so Trump's like, see? He said no. Okay. F***ing idiot. Sorry, this started out about Donald Trump Jr.'s emails, right? Okay, so let's flash forward a little bit more to when Donald Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, was fired after being accused of assaulting a journalist. In his place, in March of 2016, the Trump campaign hired a man named Paul Manafort. And I guess it's time to do a segment on him called Paul Manafort. Mall Santa Fort. Love it. So, Paul Manafort has received millions and millions of dollars from the Ukrainian and Russian government. He helped get a pro-Putin president elected in Ukraine. Records recently obtained by the Associated Press indicate that Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska paid Manafort $10 million a year to lobby for Putin-friendly oligarchs in Ukraine and pro-Russian governments in Georgia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, and to undermine anti-Russian sentiment using front groups and media. A memo written by Paul Manafort in 2005 reads, quote, "We are now of the belief that this model can greatly benefit the Putin government if employed at the correct levels with the appropriate commitment to success." End of quote. Written by Paul Manafort, campaign manager for the Trump campaign. He goes on to describe the effort, which, quote again, "will be offering a great service that can refocus both internally and externally the policies of the Putin government." End quote again. Now let's pause for a minute. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to think a little more about the fact that Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort literally wrote the sentence, "We are now of the belief that this model can greatly benefit the Putin government if employed at the correct levels with the appropriate commitment to success, which will be offering a great service that can refocus both internally and externally the policies of the Putin government." And I guess nobody cares, so moving on. This has been Paul Manafort, Mall Santa Fort. Flash forward a couple months to Paul Manafort and current Attorney General Jeff Sessions having some undisclosed meetings with Russian Ambassador Kislyak at the Republican National Convention, right before the Trump campaign behind closed doors altered the Republican platform to no longer include support of Ukraine in its conflict with Putin and Russia. But again, whatever, who cares? Now let's flash to Donald Jr. getting an email from people he knows about other people he knows, offering incriminating information about Hillary Clinton as, quote, part of Russia and his government support for Mr. Trump. Donnie J forwards this email to Jared Kushner, husband of the president's crush and real estate kid in charge of solving all of these problems. And he also forwarded it to Paul Manafort, Trump campaign manager and well-documented Russian stooge. And so they scheduled a meeting, and then Donald Trump announced on television that he would have a big press conference about Hillary Clinton and all of her crimes and emails. And then the meeting happened, and according to Donald Jr., there was no substance. And then less than an hour after the meeting, Donald Trump Sr. tweeted about Hillary Clinton's emails, but also Don Jr. casually mentioned that all they mostly talked about was adoption related to the Magnitsky Act, something Putin hates. And that's more or less the story of Dumb Jr. tweeting his emails. So I guess we should just breeze past instances of Trump surrogates like Rudy Giuliani and Roger Stone predicting the dump of DNC emails via WikiLeaks before it happened, and let's quickly flash forward to Trump firing the man in charge of investigating him for colluding with Russia literally the day before meeting with the Russian ambassador behind closed doors with no media present at the request of Vladimir Putin. And let's flash forward more to just a month ago when Jeff Sessions and the Department of Justice quietly dismissed a money laundering case involving the Katsev family, a client of Natalia Veselnitskaya, who was involved in the tax fraud scheme that led to the death of Sergei Magnitsky. And to really take it full circle, let's flash backward to the day after the 2016 election when Rob Goldstone, who set up this meeting with Paul Manafort, posted this on Instagram. Maybe Donald Trump Jr. is only a f***ing idiot. Maybe we're being trolled by demons. I don't know. Maybe Trump didn't know he was being influenced by Russia and Putin and Paul Manafort, despite having a history of denying his well-documented ties to Russia. Like, maybe the investigation will conclude and Trump will realize, oh no, I've colluded. But you can't deny key components of this. Even if some of it can be explained away, some of it's circumstantial, all of it can't, and all of it isn't. And I had to leave a lot of it out. There's something here. For a long time, the Trumps and Hannitys and Breitbarts denied collusion, and we're seeing them shift to the position that collusion is simply okay. Some people are even blaming the deep state for all of this, alleging that this is all an Obama conspiracy and Natalia and the Galerovs are plants who set up Don Jr., which would mean there was a massive conspiracy by the Obama administration to plant people to help get Trump elected so that he may then use those people to remove Trump from office. Great plan. For people who deep-throat conspiracy theories for a living, it's bizarre that they're so uninterested when one like this flops directly into their mouth. It's so obvious. I mean, Donald Trump's campaign manager wrote that, quote, "We are now of the belief that this model can greatly benefit the Putin government if employed at the correct levels with the appropriate commitment to success, which will be offering a great service that can refocus both internally and externally the policies of the Putin government." Shouldn't that be enough? Well, respectfully disagree. But at least nothing will come of this, probably. So, end of episode. Call your congressperson about this healthcare bill. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, thanks for watching that video. If you want to subscribe to our channel, click the big C, and if you want notifications on when we have new videos, click the bell icon. And that's it!